Hello, everybody. This is Anna Karenina by Leo Tolstoy. Part 1, Chapter 2. Stepan Arkadyevitch was a sincere man as far as he himself was concerned. He could not deceive himself and persuade himself that he repented of what he had done. He could not feel sorry that he, a handsome, susceptible man of 34, did not now love his wife, the mother of his 7 children, 5 of whom were living, though she was only a year his junior. He regretted only that he had not succeeded in hiding it better from her, but he felt the whole weight of the situation and pitied his wife, his children, and himself. Possibly he would have had better success in deceiving his wife had he realized that this news would have had such an effect upon her. Evidently this view of it had never occurred to him before, but he had a dim idea that his wife was aware of his infidelity and looked at it through her fingers. As she had lost her freshness, was beginning to look old, was no longer pretty, and far from distinguished and entirely commonplace. Though she was an excellent matron, he had thought that she would allow her innate sense of justice to plead for him, but it proved to be quite the contrary. "Oh, how wretched! Aye," said Prince Stepan to himself over and over. He could not collect his thoughts. And how well everything was going until this happened. How delightfully we lived. She was content, happy with the children. I never interfered with her in any way. I allowed her to do as she pleased with the children and the household. To be sure, it was bad that she had been our governess. 'Twas bad. There is something trivial and common in playing the gallant to one's own governess. But what a governess! He gave a quick thought to Mademoiselle Roland's black roguish eyes and her smile. But as long as she was here in the house with us, I did not permit myself any liberties. And the worst of all is that she is already... Everything happens just to spite me. Aye. But what? What is there to be done? There was no answer except the common answer which life gives to all the most complicated and insoluble questions. Her answer is this: you must live according to circumstances. In other words, forget yourself. But as you cannot forget yourself in sleep, at least till night, as you cannot return to that music which the decanter women sang, therefore you must forget yourself in the dream of life. We shall see by and by, said Stepan Arkadyevitch to himself. And rising, he put on his grey dressing gown with blue silk lining, tied the tassels into a hasty knot, and took a full breath into his ample lungs. Then, with his usual firm step, he went over to the window, where he lifted the curtain and loudly rang the bell. It was answered by his old friend, the valet de chambre Matvey, bringing his clothes, boots, and a telegram. Behind Matvey came the barber with the shaving utensils. "Are there any papers from the courthouse?" asked Stepan Arkadyevitch, taking the telegram and placing himself before the mirror. "On the breakfast table," replied Matvey, looking with inquiry and interest at his master, and after an instant's pause added with a cunning smile, "I just came from the boss of the livery stable." Stepan Arkadyevitch answered not a word, but he looked at Matvey in the mirror. In their interchange of glances it could be seen how they understood each other. The look of Stepan Arkadyevitch seemed to ask, "Why did you say that? Don't you know?" Matvey thrust his hands into the sack-coat pockets, kicked out his legs, and with an almost imperceptible smile on his good-natured face, looked back to his master. "I ordered him to come next Sunday. Until then, that you and I should not be annoyed without reason," said he, with a phrase apparently ready on his tongue. Prince Stepan perceived that Matvey wanted to jest and attract attention to himself. He tore open the telegram and read it, guessing at the words that were written in cipher, and his face brightened. "Matvey, Sister Anna Arkadyevna is coming," said he, staying for a moment the plump, gleaming hand of his barber, who was trying to make a pink bath through his long curly whiskers. "Thank God!" cried Matvey, showing by his exclamation that he understood as well as his master the significance of this arrival, that it meant that Anna Arkadyevna, Prince Stepan's loving sister, might effect a reconciliation between husband and wife. "Alone, or with her husband?" asked Matvey. Stepan Arkadyevitch could not speak, as the barber was engaged on the upper lip, but he lifted one finger. Matvey nodded his head toward the mirror. "Alone. Get a room ready? Report to Darya Alexandrovna, and let her decide." "To Darya Alexandrovna?" retorted Matvey rather skeptically. "Yes, report to her. And here, take the telegram. Give it to her and do as she says." "You want to try an experiment?" was the thought in Matvey's mind, but he only said, "I will obey." By this time Stepan Arkadyevitch had finished his bath and his toilet, and was just putting on his clothes, when Matvey, stepping slowly with squeaking boots and holding the telegram in his hand, returned to the room. The barber was no longer there. "Darya Alexandrovna bade me tell you she is going away, to do just as you please about it," said Matvey with a smile lurking in his eyes. Thrusting his hands in his pockets and bending his head to one side, he looked at his master. Stepan Arkadyevitch was silent. Then a good-humored and rather pitiful smile lighted up his handsome face. "Hey, Matvey," he said, shaking his head. "It's nothing, sir. She will come to her senses," answered Matvey. "Will come to her senses?" "Exactly." "Do you think so? Who is there?" asked Stepan Arkadyevitch, hearing the rustle of a woman's dress behind the door. "It's me," said a powerful and pleasant female voice, and in the doorway appeared the severe and pimply face of Matryona Filimonovna, the nurse. "Well, what is it, Matryosha?" asked Stepan Arkadyevitch, meeting her at the door. Notwithstanding the fact that Stepan Arkadyevitch was entirely in the wrong as regarded his wife, as he himself confessed, still almost everyone in the house, even the old nurse, Darya's chief friend, was on his side. "Well, what?" he asked gloomily. "You go down, sir, ask her forgiveness, just once. Perhaps the Lord will bring it out right. She is tormenting herself grievously, and it is pitiful to see her, and everything in the house is going criss-cross. The children, sir, you must have pity on them. Ask her forgiveness, sir. What is to be done? If you like the coast downhill, you've got to—" But she won't accept an apology. "But you do your part. God is merciful, sir. Pray to God." "Very well, then. Come on," said Stepan Arkadyevitch, suddenly blushing. "Very well. Let me have my things," said he, turning to Matvey and resolutely throwing off his dressing-gown. Matvey had everything all ready for him, and stood blowing off invisible dust from the shirt, stiff as a horse-collar, in which he proceeded the evident satisfaction to invest his master's luxurious form.